Intro. Oh, just start. Hello, Mr. Andrew. How are you? We are in one more episode of Manada Podcast, and here with my friend Andrew. He's my friend, like vegan friends I met a few years ago, and I invited him to participate in the show. Here to work with us. Hi, man. Thanks for joining. Introduce yourself for the audience.
Hi, Wagner. The sound actually is cutting out when you're talking.
Yeah.
It's coming through a little
All
bit
right.
choppy. Now that's
How
I can
how
hear
do
you
you
now.
feel now? How do you feel now? Is it better?
Yes, that's better. Yeah.
All right. You know what? I forget that the mic. I need to be very close,
Mm,
otherwise it won't get my voice. Anyway, so here I
okay.
am. I think you can hear me now. So yeah,
Yeah.
just man, just introduce yourself, who you are. I'd like you to go through something. So we're gonna start the conversation like what you do at the moment, who you are,
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah,
Sure.
as we can see in the background, we can see that you are cartoonist. So we can start from here.
Yeah. That's me. That's right. So yeah, Andrew Goti. I've been doing live caricatures at mostly weddings, but any sort of corporate event, birthdays, Christmas parties for companies, and some vegan festivals. The Irish Vegan Festival up in Belfast, and sometimes I fundraise for WAG, Working Animal Guardians. Our mutual friend Katerina Kmakova, she does a lot of fundraising for them, so I'm happy to help out. Yes, I'm vegan, as you mentioned, 10 years at that. Went vegan when I watched Earthlings documentary, Yaquin Phoenix, the narration, and Moby, the music. I was
Yeah,
only listening to Moby today. Moby has a podcast. And he's done a 1 year anniversary now, I think, himself, and maybe his girlfriend. He's a nice guy. And he has great
yeah,
tattoos that says animal rights on his
yeah.
arms.
Isn't Did you
Yeah.
see his documentary about? I
Punk
don't know.
rock movie.
Yeah. I don't know. That's him, right? Or if I'm not wrong, I know he's a producer of a punk, vegan punk bands in this scene because there is kind of a connection of vegan movement with the punk rock scene as well. It's a good documentary if you want to watch. If you didn't
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, I have yet to watch it. It's on my to-do list, but I am a fan of the guy because he's quite outspoken, as am I. Certainly, I'm a keyboard warrior. I attend the Cubes of Truth run by Anonymous for the voiceless and their various chapters around the
Yeah.
world. I'm living in Dublin. I was living in Northern Ireland the last 3 years, but I'm down in Dublin now. So it's great to see that has kind of restarted after the pandemic stopped everybody
Totally.
congregating, and animal rights
Totally.
unfortunately took a bit of a hit. People wouldn't come together. We do need to stick together. And thanks for inviting me on. And Wagner, I remember you actually, because you run the Vegan Jobs Ireland website and social media pages, you had asked me to do a kind of written interview previously, and I'd
Yeah.
given an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
Oh yeah.
journey and activism and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. Like since Vegan Jobs Ireland, I like to give space to people like you who has some great ideas and share, showing how you can do activism with your art. and that's awesome. How you said about the uh, anonymous experience? Uh, how do you find? How, did you have any bad experience, like people trying to debate because they don't agree whatever you're showing? Acting rude, acting angry. Any experience to share?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, it's a very controversial topic. You know, people get offended
Total.
because vegans just exist. Because it makes people question their own daily decisions. Especially if you bring up the moral reason. It is a moral philosophy to leave animals, alone. Um, it does look quite confrontational because we're showing very graphic footage that has been obtained from vegan animal rights activists who've gone into farms, put in secret cameras, got the actual footage out. What happens in the process of someone getting a bacon sandwich, from farm to fork. And it's very confronting, and most of society don't want to see that and will shield their children from it. And their food is so violent that it requires censorship. You can't show the whole process, certainly on social media. No animal product brand or company wants their customers to see exactly what the animals go through. So yeah, Anonymous for the Voiceless, we think that the public have a right to know, especially because their taxpayers' money fund these industries. They're subsidized, they're bailed out as they need to be quite often if animals get sick and they need to be culled en masse. If there's a pandemic caused by maybe farming practices, then they seem to get a free pass. So anyway,
Totally.
yeah, it's confronting.
Yeah.
It's a difficult topic. We're there
Yeah.
showing the things, unshielded. And the biggest problem people have is usually parents saying, "Hey, what are you doing? Like you're upsetting my child. Well, I don't want them to see that."
Yeah.
So I understand that, and I guess my answer would be, well, I mean, the animals are the real victims. I understand it might be upsetting to your child, but if we all appreciate that, our companion animals are sentient and we look after them so well, then surely we shouldn't be doing this to equally sentient beings. It is an injustice. That conversation needs to be had, not just for animal rights, but you could say
Totally.
human rights. I mean, so many, as you know, there's so many ways that animal agriculture affects human health, public health, pandemics, global warming. It's one of the biggest contributors to that. So there's plenty of very strong reasons to be there protesting. It's not just like, we're ignoring human suffering. It actually
Yeah.
relates so much to human suffering, especially personal health as well.
Totally.
Clogging your arteries. You could almost consider it child abuse, I think, that you're
Yeah.
bringing your children up to eat what are labeled as group 1 and group 2 carcinogens by the World Health Organization. There's no warnings on the packets. You have
Yeah.
warnings on alcohol, you've got warnings on tobacco. So kids know, okay, I'm taking a risk if I eat that, but they don't know they're taking a risk. They're just brought up like most of us were. The culture tells you this is what you need to do. Doctors tell you this is what you should do to get iron, totally negating all the iron you can get from plant sources. You're a bodybuilder, you know yourself how to fuel your body without having to cause suffering to other beings. So well done on that, Wagner.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Thanks. Yeah, it's tough to try to show the obvious, Why you think it's so hard to make people to understand that their act is actually bringing suffering to animals? Isn't too obvious? They don't do the connection of buying that animal. It means there is an industry behind that are putting those animals into 100% suffering all their time that they're alive, and it's so obvious that I think everyone that gets connected to that information should turn vegan uh, immediately. In my point of view, because it's obvious if something that's so making something suffer to suffer, you want to stop that suffering. So vegan is just uh, the the where to go when you don't want any type of suffering. That's the way people should be thinking. it's obvious. It shouldn't be so hard to have a lot of vegan like us trying to show the obvious, show that hey, what you're doing is wrong. It should be it should be clear for everyone. It's funny how hard it is to show to people to act the proper way. You know, it's very hard.
It is.
But
It
you know,
is.
we keep doing our job
Yeah.
like as you know as much as I can. You know,
You
I
know,
will do my part.
good. Well, look, it's information. People don't necessarily have the information. Maybe they don't particularly want the information because, there's quite a lot of guilt, I suppose, associated with obtaining food in a violent way against an innocent being. But it is an industry, as you mentioned, and certainly they take every step they can to hide the full process from the consumers who
Yeah,
don't particularly want to see it. So you'd have labels to make people feel better, like humanely slaughtered, and that is approved by organizations that we're supposed to respect because they're supposed to take
yeah,
care of animals as best as possible. The USPCA or Red Tractor would be another group that are kind of high welfare seals of approval. But basically,
yeah,
they just take money to give those seals, and some of the practices that they do
yeah.
consider to be acceptable, like uh, putting a pig or two into a gas chamber, an aversive, cheap gas, carbon dioxide, and suffocating them until they become unconscious, then slit their throats. If they become conscious whilst that happens, the next process is a scalding tank to dehair them, because consumer wants to see the remnants of a live animal. You can't have hair on your meat, so it must be taken away. But I've seen videos of pigs emerging, trying to get out of the scalding tank, and they're being boiled alive. So that's their
Terrible.
punishment for being born a pig, because people like bacon. But it's considered normal, natural, and necessary for us to eat
Yeah,
animal products.
yeah,
Obviously, in human evolution, it has provided sustenance where it may have been hard to find it. But we live in the modern era. Let's not forget, we have supermarkets everywhere. We can order any food we want. We have the nutritional science, as you know. You
yeah,
can build yourself perfectly well, and the largest nutrition groups in the world, the Dietetic Association of Britain and America, have both categorically stated that a whole food plant-based diet is perfectly adequate for all stages of life, from birth up to old age, including sports people, and can infer benefits such as preventions of certain diseases. So I think it's a lack of information, and it's particularly heinous that hospitals and the medical industry are kind of in cahoots, I think, with animal agriculture. If you consider that 70% of all antibiotics worldwide are administered to farm animals, because if they didn't
totally.
and they were factory farmed, they would die of the disease and the squalid conditions that they're sort of forced to live in. Without ventilation, without sunlight, can't exhibit their natural behaviors. They're totally stressed. They're crowded on top of each other. So they need drugs to keep them alive long enough to make it to the slaughterhouse. So yeah, it's like, I'm just grateful that, like you asked about the anonymous for the voiceless, the cubes of truth, where they show the footage. I'm grateful to people like, say, Joey Carbstrong, who's an Australian guy who does a
Yeah,
lot of outreach in England at the moment, and he shows footage. He's gone into slaughterhouses and he planted secret cameras in there to show how pigs die, the process. And he got that footage out there. That slaughterhouse shut down actually 2 months afterwards because they didn't want the bad press, because it was exposed exactly what happens in there. And like I say, you'd like to think it's so simple. We don't want animals to suffer unnecessarily, unless you're a psychopath, which is concerning that people will want to work in slaughterhouses or even be a farmer or work in vivisection. I'm concerned about the psychology of people that end up in jobs like that. High rates of
totally.
PTSD. It can really desensitize you to violence. I think there's studies that show that wherever slaughterhouses are newly erected, rates of domestic violence go up in those areas. So it might be that they're attracting violent-minded people, or it desensitizes people to violence, and they just want to force the animals to do what they want. They might go home and feel the same with their kids or their wife. There is a
Totally.
link between the way people treat animals, particularly with serial killers, they usually start on animals first, and then it can transfer to human on human violence. Not that that's the only important thing, like, that word existential, it's an existential crisis. Like, it's an existential crisis for every individual animal that's being brutalized and having their family separated and brutally murdered. That's their existence wiped out. The one thing that we all have, and the most precious thing we have, of course, is our life. So whether you do it humanely or not, I think you should give animals the freedom to live and be an earthling like me. That documentary I watched that turned me vegan on the spot, Earthlings. So yeah, I have a lot to say
Yeah.
about this topic. It's
Oh yeah,
very deep.
totally, man. Yeah.
It's very. Yeah.
The, f- how do you see the vegans? I would say in Ireland, the movement. Like, do you feel it's growing more engagement between people? Like the growing not only in terms of product but activism around, or before pandemic, after. I have the feeling that before pandemic there was more things going on comparing to nowadays, but I don't know, what's your point of view?
Yes, on a positive note, there is a new group that's going to start doing street activism called We the Free, or WTF. They seem to have a bit of money behind them as well, so they'll look like quite a professional setup. I believe they'll be showing videos or challenging the public. Watch this short 3-minute video and win a prize or win a free burger or something. And the video, of course, will be, something that you don't particularly want to see, but it is the truth. So that's good. They're going to be setting up here.
Yeah.
I believe they might be possibly from England, or they certainly are established in England. And like I said, the Cube of Truth is back in Dublin. There is a group called Sentient Rights Ireland, and they are attempting to be Ireland's first ever animal rights political group. So they have the number of members that they needed now to actually apply to the government to be registered as a political party. So that's quite exciting. And it's a large number of people all working together, which is kind of your question, like, how are we all coming together to use our numbers and our skill sets for the greater good, which is what we share. We all want to alleviate animal suffering in any way we can. I can do it through the skill that I have, which is my art. I have, like, say, a vegan album. I've actually done work for Sentient Rights Ireland, created their banner, going to help them with their logo. So yeah, there are a number of groups, certainly online groups, that can bring everyone together. Like NARA, the National Animal Rights Association, are still going. They're doing good work with trying to ban particular things like fur farming. They did a great job there. Hair coursing is still going on in Ireland. There are hunt sab groups as well that would try to prevent hunting of foxes and deers. So, like, there's plenty of splinter cells, I suppose. There's lots of individuals. Like, there's a guy, you probably are aware of him. He's in Northern Ireland. His name is Cliff Grant. He did used to be an organizer for the Cube of Truth, for Anonymous for the Voiceless, but he found it is hard to herd vegans together to, like, individual cats, and they have strong personalities, and everyone wants to advocate for the cause in the best way they think it should be done. And so there can be quite a lot of conflict on, like, who is going to represent us the best way. They might have different ideas about that. So particularly because it's not a professional, you're not an employee, you're all volunteers. It's hard to get people to fall in line and to follow rules. Like, this is my free time. Don't tell me what to do, But, like, when you try and organize people like that, it's quite difficult.
It is hard. And
Yeah.
I think sometimes
But
there's some
just to finish,
conflicts. Yeah. Oh yeah.
just
Go
to
ahead,
finish,
man.
finish
Yeah.
my thought, because I just dropped
Sure.
his
Sure.
name. So
Yeah.
he kind of moved away from, trying to organize groups, because he just found it too difficult. People had excuses. They couldn't come for this reason, for that reason. He's very dedicated. So he just took his camera, went out to Belfast. Corn Market is the sort of central shopping location there. Set up a camera, had a sign saying it's perfectly okay to kill animals. I think cruelty is acceptable to animals. Challenging signs that people go, what? What's he talking about? They go up, engage in conversation. Like, he's got 20,000 followers now just off his own initiative just by
Very
putting
cool.
videos onto social media and YouTube. And he's converted a lot of people, to a more peaceful way of living just by giving them information they didn't have before, engaging in truthful but respectful dialogue. He's
Yeah,
quite good, and he's quite calm. He'll talk to farmers. He'll talk to anybody along the spectrum. So yeah, we
that's a
don't
good.
necessarily. I'm saying to get the message out, we don't necessarily need to all agree and band together. We could do it like he has done.
Yeah,
But I have high hopes for Sentient Rights Ireland as a political party, because we, as well as individual change, we need systemic change. Animal Rising, who used to be Animal Rebellion, the splinter of Extinction Rebellion, have said we have a broken relationship with nature and animals, and we need to move to a plant-based food system, particularly for climate breakdown and environmental reasons.
yeah. No, it's very important. I'm gonna invite them to this podcast to talk more about that. Would be very nice.
Good.
Uh, so you think that which best approach you like? You know, more like impactful, uh, tough, like maybe hardcore way, or more passive. You know, like I like that approach of Ed Earthlings. He said his things on the streets with some message, and whoever person who wants to debate sits down and they start a conversation. They try to be f- friendly, not get angry. And it all depends on the way you deal with people. When they try to come with some stupid argument, and then like plants feel pain, and then kinds of puts me off a conversation, because that person doesn't. It's hard to start a conversation with some people. They don't want to. Uh, they already have their opinion against. But some people are more open to talk. But it all depends the way you deal with the person you're talking. If you know how to deal with, you'll be successful by trying to push this person to veganism.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like a sales job in a way, even though we don't benefit from making a sale. It
Totally,
is purely
totally.
for the benefit, I guess, of animals. But as I said, not just that, but I think society in general could benefit from this peaceful philosophy. I mean, even on a chemical level, like if you're ingesting cortisol, which is a stress hormone that animals feel or courses through their veins when they're being slaughtered or brutalized, that does tend to make people more stressed or behave in a more stressful way. I think there was a study done in California, in Silicon Valley, looking at employees they put on a plant-based diet for 6 months and ones that went on your regular SAD diet, the standard American diet. It's a great acronym, SAD. Um, and yeah, their productivity and their moods improved. So you could talk to somebody if you wanted to, if they're into their health, maybe into mental health, and use information like that to meet people where they're at, where their interest is. So yeah, dialogue and respectful conversation and listening, active listening and responding or asking questions. What concerns would you have, or like what would prevent you from considering the vegan lifestyle? So usually the topics are health, um, ethics, environment, or
Yeah,
maybe, yeah, yeah. So find out where their interest lies. For me, it was just seeing the graphic footage that had enough of an effect on me. Um, but equally, I suppose everyone has a few steps to get them to that place where they make the decision. They have their eureka moment. I
yeah,
have to acknowledge that I did have um, a guinea pig named Bob, and Bob was very excited about fresh vegetables. He would squeak when I opened the fridge, and I was thinking, oh, okay, there must be something to this vegetarian lifestyle. If it's good enough for Bob, maybe I should consider it. So, and I also went vegetarian for 1 year,
Right.
It wasn't for an ethical reason for me. It was just the kind of, I always had a bit of an aversion or disgust of eating flesh, seeing the sinew, the blood.
Yeah.
I think I went vegetarian for that reason. I tried it out. I didn't have a very strong moral conviction. I didn't have any information at the time, and I was playing a lot of sports, and I wasn't really considering like what exactly I need to do to fulfill my daily nutrition. And I think
Yeah.
after playing like sports with my friends, I play volleyball. They all went to celebrate and got the usual junk food, and I just said, "I just give it to me." But like I say, I did have a moral moment after that, and that can be enough for a lot of people. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
there's many barriers to be broken down because we've all been led to believe that certain animals don't deserve any moral consideration. They're to be completely ignored, and they're bred for this purpose. Therefore, it doesn't matter. So we've been conditioned. I would liken it to maybe some of the fears people have about questioning, the moral authority or doctrinal instruction that the preachers give to people. Um, we seem to think that the family butcher has maybe considered the moral qualms of the industry and made the decision for us with the best information and the highest welfare, and they've given us all these
Totally.
reassurances, so we don't have to think about it.
Totally.
So what your question about which is the best approach?
Yeah,
Well,
totally. The best approach to not convince, because when we say convince someone, it means like you're trying to sell something, but it's kind
mm,
of more kind of providing information. What happens,
yeah.
that's, and then the decision is not ours. But once they have a proper information, they can decide what they want.
Mhm.
And
Well,
yeah, totally
it's quite
agree.
a matter. It's quite a matter of perspective. If you compare it to other injustices, or certainly the most obvious comparison is that there are legal punishments for mistreating a dog or a cat or a horse. Some of these animals, they have protections, and obviously the things that happen to farm animals are so much worse, both emotionally and physically. So
Yeah,
you could just draw that comparison. That's the first thing to say, because
yeah,
a lot of people claim that they're animal lovers, and they do love their family companion pet, but
yeah,
they just seem to draw like an arbitrary line. And it's worth pointing out that
yeah,
the pets that are considered to be worthy here may be food in a different country. So is cultural norms, does that equal morality,
yeah,
objective
yeah,
morality, or should we maybe re-examine that? And then,
yeah.
like
It's funny.
scientifically, like, so I just say there was a study by the Cambridge University, their Universal Declaration of Sentience. So many
Yeah,
professors of zoology, biology came together, looked at all the information that we have, I suppose, about animals, farm animals, and companion animals, and said, yes, categorically, they are sentient, they have an experience of the world, they have senses like ourselves, they can experience emotional and physical pains. They want to have families. They want to be free. So there's no denying it. So maybe some people just don't know that. We just kind of like to think, and we like to put it in a box and say, no, they're stupid. They cannot suffer as much
yeah, yeah,
as they
yeah,
actually can, because if they
yeah,
do, then I have to start questioning my habits.
yeah.
And no one is putting me under pressure to do that. There's no
Totally,
societal pressure, but I think
totally.
that pressure is increasing. It's more apparent. It's been discussed on national TV. Veganuary was very big and is growing all the time. Um, so you can hit people with some facts, and like you say, they can make up their own minds once they have the information.
Yeah, yeah, totally, man. It is. It is a tough job to show, which for us is clear. Yeah, about suffering. It shouldn't be so hard. But yeah, people. It's funny how people try to disconnect the reality. They they drew a lot. They draw a line. They are compassion. They feel love with animals, but with their pets. And the secret here is try to get this line they drew and show, hey, whatever you feel with your pets, your connection with your pets, and that's why you love them. You don't want any of them to get hurt. All the the vegans, they don't have that line. They think about all animals the way you think about your pets. So that's the way I I think I try to approach to make them to connect the idea of the passion they have with their pets. Why not to all the animals, and you don't want your pet to get hurt the same way you don't want a cow to get hurt, you know. But yeah, sometimes with that reflection, like people can get more thoughts about, they kind of make the connection and start to think. But everyone will get impacted by different ways, sometimes by showing footage of how cruel is the industry, sometimes just with a conversation. It depends on the person, the way their their experiences, their education as well.
Yeah.
And yeah.
There's probably not enough vegan comedy. There is a great documentary which I'd recommend if you haven't seen it yet. It's
Mm,
by a comedian, Simon Amstel. So he's an
okay.
English comedian. He used to have a show, like a game show called Never Mind the Buzzcocks. So he's quite a funny guy. He does stand up, but he's vegan, and he made this documentary, which is a future prediction of how he sees um, this shift in
uh,
our view of farmed animals. It's called Carnage: Swallowing the Past. I think it's available on Sky, maybe. You can't rent it on YouTube. I'd like for it to be more widely accessible, but it's great because you know comedians are good for disarming people with humor, looking at our ridiculous behavior on all sides of a topic. So like the vegans, the non-vegans, slagging us
totally.
off, us for being the tree hugger, hippie, utopian, naive types, and then the others as just being very conservative and closed-minded, let's say, or the various concerns we see. So it's a really good documentary for a
That's
light
cool, man.
introduction to the topic.
I
Yeah,
will I will I will recommend on description. I will get the link.
mm, yeah, because it's a very heavy topic, and you do need a little bit of comic relief to lighten the
Yeah,
load.
yeah,
It's just there's so much potential guilt and burden there, and the problem is so big that yeah, you definitely need a soft approach sometimes, because who wants to be a vegan? Like, who wants to be in the vegan when there's no fun to be had? It's all just fear and loathing, and isolation, and you can't go to the party because you're awkward and
oh
you
yeah,
won't eat the food, and
yeah,
so you're the difficult person at the party.
yeah,
So I guess
totally, man.
you have to make it a bit more accessible and fun. Be in our game.
Yeah, yeah. No, totally, man. I totally agree, especially with know how to deal with like a vegan stand-up comedian. He can come up with some of those things that we always hear, which is bullshit, but they can come up with uh, a topic saying about those stupid things, but in a nice way that can make people think, and at the same time as a joke,
Yeah,
uh, make vegans, because vegans has that uh, that image of kind of bad, kind of the person that point fingers on you, that there's this atmosphere, like people don't see the name vegan as a good concept. There's a bad concept behind for some part of society, when all we want is to provoke less pain. But what happens is the opposite. People look at the vegan movement as something, as crazy people who likes to hug hug trees, things like that.
Yeah, well, I think I went through a phase, when I first kind of, after looking at the Earthlings documentary, and I was so shocked with the graphic footage that I saw, that I was kind of angry at myself and possibly others for
Oh
not
yeah,
ever addressing the issue, and then also when you're like people say the hardest part about being vegan is the way other people react to you talking about it, because you're probably coming at it a bit too like dramatic, when it's not really considered that serious a topic. Until you
yeah,
dive into all of the problems, all the associated problems with it, then you can see how serious it is. But yeah, I think a lot of vegans initially come across as being unhinged, angry, demanding of their friends and family, because they're just so
totally.
emotional about this sort of change. I call it coming out of the matrix. You've probably heard that term before. You take the green pill,
Makes
not the
sense.
blue
Yeah,
pill, not the red pill, the
yeah,
green pill.
yeah.
You
The
know,
green,
and
totally.
it's upsetting that your call for peace and compassion and mercy isn't shared, with your nearest and dearest, and it's quite confronting and a difficult thing to talk about and to accept. So we have to be very tactful, and
Yeah,
the people that have gone through that and that sort of rejection of their ideas do need to. I think there should be counselling. To be honest, I'm not saying that all vegans are mentally deranged, but it is a very difficult thing to actually process and to go through.
yeah.
I think Sandra Higgins. Oh, sorry, I failed to mention her. Sandra Higgins of Go Vegan World. She has a
Mm.
massive advertising campaign. I think she's got some very wealthy, benevolent philanthropists that are willing to back her great projects. She has an animal sanctuary called Eden Farmed Animal Sanctuary. I think
Oh
it's in
wow.
County Meath. But I think she's a psychiatrist, and she has offered. I've seen in the vegan social groups that she's willing to help people that might have emotional fatigue from the difficulty of processing all of this, point of view, a worldview, and particularly people that are very heavily involved in activism. So going into farms,
Yes.
seeing all of the horror that happens in there, confronting the public in a difficult way. Yeah, you could do with a little bit of emotional support and understanding. So I guess I've gone through that sort of thing myself, and hopefully this conversation can help any new vegans that may be feeling quite isolated or in turmoil. But I think there are resources. There are things like challenge22.com or even Veganuary, where you
Yeah.
have volunteers who are willing to give up their time to talk to people about practical things. Where do you get the food? How do you nourish your body this way? And also, like, how do you deal with the societal difficulties of eating like this, and talking to your family and friends? I think first of all you need to be informed. Inform yourself of all the answers, all the typical questions that will come up, and be armed, with that, so you don't look stupid. That it's a serious consideration. It is a
Totally.
philosophical stance. It's not just a phase or a passing notion. So
Yeah. At the end, uh, you know, if you don't get the connection, a lot of people turn vegan. Well, and after a while they give up. So, what do you think is happening? What happened to that person that was once a vegan? Because I think, like, having me as an experience, like once I'm vegan, I don't see myself not being vegan anymore. It's something natural to me. There's no challenge anymore. I don't see it as a problem. I don't think about that anyway. It's something that's regular. And once there's a person like that, and one day that person is not vegan. Why do you think that happens? Is there something? Any? What's your thought on that? Because
Hmm.
I can't say, man. It's funny to me. To me, that person have never had never a connection with the animal. Was was something else. Was dieting. Was because was trending or something. Because I don't see a real vegan. I don't see I don't think there is a next vegan. You know,
Yeah,
once you're vegan for real, you're vegan.
yeah, yeah. It is. I mean, I think people vary in their level of empathy for non-human animals. It's quite wide, and real animal lovers just cannot understand how other people don't feel the level of intensity of care, and compassion that maybe you do. So there is that. There's probably the lack of support, and it can be quite challenging. It can be quite isolating. You could even be bullied. For
Totally.
trying, particularly I think men. There's this stereotype that like to show too much compassion is not masculine. But others would counter actually standing up for the weak and vulnerable is the most masculine thing you can do, and to go against the grain and to protest. Uh, but it can be quite difficult, I think, for some people if they don't have support. Or, what I did was I joined vegan groups. I went vegan with a good friend of mine actually at the same time. So that was good, because we could talk to each other about the various thoughts we had, and the trials and tribulations of it, and also the practical issues of like how are we gonna how are we gonna meet our daily nutritional requirements. So, like, there's a guy who I was absolutely astounded that he was no longer vegan. His name is his YouTube name is Cosmic Skeptic. Um, his name is O'Connor. Let me think. Alan O'Connor. Anyway, an English guy studying philosophy, and he made a
Right.
name for himself by going onto YouTube, talking about atheism, mostly religious challenges, sociology. Very intelligent guy, and people kept asking him, "Well, how do you feel about animal ethics? You're a moral philosopher. You don't seem to be addressing this issue." So he did. He looked into it, and he couldn't deny it any longer. He went vegan, and he even he spoke at a vegan campout, that very large celebration that they have in England every year.
Yeah.
And I found
Incredible.
his arguments were really impressive. And I thought, great, we have a guy now, that can talk to the the elite thinkers, to the philosophers. He knows their language, and he has a very strong stance on animal rights. But he actually came out recently and said, "Look, I haven't been able to maintain my vegan diet." And to him, that was the issue. It was a practical issue. He travelled a lot. Maybe a problem with convenience. He had bad gut health. I think he has IBS. And so God love the guy, a difficult thing to live with. I don't experience it, but I'm sure it is very difficult and sort of almost, embarrassing. You don't want to be on a stage and suffering with your stomach. So this was the reason that he gave, but I was hugely disappointed because he had such a strong conviction. But I think for him, like you said, he may not have made like a physical connection with the farm animals. I think it was just
Right.
theoretical. It was all just theorizing, mathematical equations. This is unfair. This is an injustice. I don't think if you really, really feel it, that it is quite hard because you visualize the process every time you look at a piece of meat. You know exactly what happened for it to get there, and it's too unbearable for your taste pleasure to put an animal through that. I can't go back, even if it was like less tasty or slightly less healthy. A vegan will not renege or go back.
Totally, man. Makes all sense. Yeah. Yeah, man. That's the challenge. You know, that's the challenge. Everyone has their own way of see things.
Mm.
and I'm favoring different approaches. I don't like people who says like, oh, the way you do is not the best. I think every way is important. The guy who shows the footage with showing what happens in the industry, the guy that have a conversation. I think all the ways are positive to
Don't
are
forget,
weapons.
Wagner. Don't forget the guy who wears a vegan T-shirt in the gym. So leading by example,
Totally, totally. That's
positive way for your health.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I had one. I don't have it anymore. Vegan. I said that on my the last episode with someone else. I had a T-shirt saying vegan power or something.
Mm.
And I remember a guy came to me. He starts to ask things like, "Oh, where do you get your protein from?" Things like that. Are you vegan for how long? And blah blah blah. And at the end, that person was trying to say that I was using something else. That person was trying to say that I was taking the juice. If you know what I
Mm.
mean, the
The soya juice.
the soya juice. Yeah. And it was like, no, man, I'm not taking anything else. Just eating properly. Watch what you eat. Make sure you have enough protein, and that's it. Train hard. Go to the gym every day. Stop drinking, and
Mm.
but people always expect you to have the miracle pills. They want to get the pills that will transform their bodies into Arnold.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
if they see you, if you're strong, if you have a nice shape, and you are vegan, they get confused and they think you're lying or something.
I assume, Wagner, you have seen the documentary The Game Changers.
Yes, I did. It's very
Okay,
good.
because you mentioned Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he mentions that meat
Totally,
is what a man
totally.
eats, and that sort of
Oh yeah,
meat
totally, man.
that the industry pushed because they were trying to suggest you need more protein than you actually do, or that you can't get it from plant sources, forgetting that most of the animals that we eat built all of their muscle from plants. So yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's like
funny. Like they don't do that connection that the cows eat the vegetables and they eat the cows. That the cows get get the protein from the vegetables. You
yeah.
know, so funny. But yeah, we are here to try to educate people as well. You know,
Mm.
can I show you quickly the your Instagram just to show some of your draws? I don't know how's your time, but I
Yeah, I'm
mean,
fine. Just my daughter, my 3-year-old daughter, has entered the room. So if we hear high
oh
pitched
yeah, no
noise,
worries. She's
that's her
fine.
saying hello.
She's fine. So let me share here, and then we can go through some of your draws. Uh, yeah, can you see? Am I sharing? Yes,
I
I am
sent you a
sharing.
link.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I sent you a
Can
link,
you?
Wagner, previously, which was I sent you a link to my vegan or animal rights album. I do have a dedicated album
All
for,
right. Is this
you could
one?
possibly. No, well, that's my website there. I I
What's
plan
the
to
name?
do more of that. Well, it's actually if you were to type, let me see. If you go to it's on my Facebook page.
Right.
So if you type in, just go to my Facebook page actually, Gotti Caricatures,
Okay. Let me.
and it will be an album on that page.
Okay, I'm going to Facebook now. I will share once I'm there.
Cool.
Uh,
Yeah, I did a drawing, a caricature that I'm very proud of. It was actually a present or a gift for that activist I mentioned he's from Ballymena in Northern Ireland, but he He does street outreach in Belfast. His name is Cliff Grant.
All right.
So if you go on to photos, the heading photos, and then there should be albums. Yeah, albums there. So there's animal caricatures, then there is vegan themed art. Yeah, second row down on the left.
This one.
There you go. Yeah, that's it.
Ah, let me expand this. Let me see if it's better.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's fine. All right. So
I can talk about it a
yeah,
little bit.
I like the colors.
Yes, so that was a drawing that ended up in a colouring book, which was a fundraiser for the DSPCA, the Dublin something for animals, whatever that stands for. I think they have a kind of sanctuary for rescued animals.
Right.
So this horse was called Breeze, and so I've kind of done swirling leaves, over his head and a benevolent hand, like gently patting a horse as you might do. But then below is, the industry, which is pulling on the stirrups, on the reins. As we all know, horse racing, show jumping can be very, very difficult and hard on the animals, and they often get killed if they don't make the grade. So I have a gentle breeze on top, and then like a tornado, below, and you'll see like there's horse meat coming out of that tornado, a broken heart, a whip, stirrups and money. So it's just showing the two sides to how people view animals, either as a being to be respected or a being to be exploited. So that was that image.
Totally, man. Yeah, it's very deep, and the eyes of the horse says everything. You can see how deep and sad eyes of this horse.
Yeah. Well, I think horses always look like philosophers. They look very deep. I think like pigs, their eyes can look sad, but in the context there, the eyes work for that image.
Yeah.
Kind of a pleading for mercy.
Yeah. It's a good image, and with all the other images that you created all together, they made a good poster.
Maybe I could direct you to one that I want to show you if you go back to the page. Well, the one below, it's another horse image there with the girl. So rather than a person climbing on the horse's back, I like to do role reversals, and I do that quite often. See how you like it. Horses do not put their geldings or their young foals on their back, and it can damage their back if you get on too young. You hear about breaking their spirit. A wild horse has a free spirit. They would not accept a human jumping on their back. A trainer needs to beat them into submission for that to be acceptable to them. So these things are not always considered in our relationship with horses. But anyway, like you say, it's a
Hello,
cute,
here I
cute
am.
approach.
I'm back. Can you hear me, Andrew?
The noise level has increased in here.
Oh, no, sorry. I think for a second something happened with the connection, but here we are.
So that's kind of a cute approach to the subject,
Yeah.
Just the role reversal. I have another one I would like to show you. If you go back out to the main page again, please, Wagner, and scroll down until I see it. It's a very colourful image. Let's see. A bit further. Let's see. Anyway, look, if you see one there you're interested in, you can pull it up, and I'll talk to you about it.
Did you show the picture to this guy? Did you
No,
show?
Well, I tagged him. I did tag him. Actually,
Right.
Another famous doctor. What's his name? Barnard. Neil Barnard of Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. He's an amazing guy. He's lobbied the American government to try and change their food policies. More whole food, plant-based. If you go further, I think he was no, he's further down. Go down a little bit there, Wagner. Oh no, no.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes, it's in a frame. See the framed picture with my hand on it. Down
Uh,
below Yaquin Phoenix there. To the right. To the right over. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, that picture. Yeah.
this guy, this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
that's Dr. Neil Barnard, and he had a book, Your Body in Balance. Like whole food, plant based. He sees his
All right.
patients recover, reverse their type 2 diabetes, unclog their hearts. Their blood is flowing better. But yeah, I just took that book and put the apple on his head. He's also in a band. They make some really nice music. They have a beautiful sort of lullaby song.
Mhm.
Their name is Carbon Works, is the name of the band. And yeah, so that's him with his guitar on his back. Yeah, there's
I
the name.
like
The
the
name
way I like the shadows on his face, the way it did the lights and etc.
and you see his stethoscope. He's like coming at you with his foot. It's in between his toes.
Yeah,
He's very flexible.
very flexible, man.
So this is
And
my
last,
light-hearted way to marry, my caricatures and advocating for the vegan
yeah,
lifestyle, or
totally,
its
it's a very
champions.
nice way.
He
Very
noticed
cool way.
he noticed it on Instagram. He goes, "Oh, thank you so much. It's very flattering." So generally, people are afraid of caricatures, but I tend to do cute,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
realistic, or flattering ones. I'm not trying to upset. If you go to that one there, that's Lewis Hamilton. See in the race car, the Batmobile, it says Liberation over there
This
on the
one.
left side. Yeah.
Wow.
It's not finished. I still need to kind of render the other animals on the bottom right. Um, but it was my response to, I suppose, the pandemic, which included bats and a pangolin and even mink that were being farmed were mutating the COVID gene and transferring to humans in the mink farms. So Lewis Hamilton is a vegan and a very successful professional athlete, and he's quite outspoken. So he's definitely the man with the clippers, cutting the animals out of
Totally.
the cages. You see the lambs being freed
Yeah.
from the slaughter truck behind, and the explosion. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Here you are back.
yeah,
No worries, man. That's very amazing picture. Like I like the colors, uh, the smoke.
yeah.
Maybe would you like to know the process of drawing? Like I know some summarizing doesn't need to go deep because I know it's complex. But
Yeah, yeah.
like do you use a tablet? Do you draw and then you scan, like old school way of drawing and then
Mhm.
coloring? Do you use like how long time does it take to draw like a scenario like that? Would be good to go through the creative process if you don't mind.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Well, I did train on Photoshop, but I actually found a cheap, I suppose, alternative that you don't need to pay a monthly fee for. It's Procreate is the name of the app. I have it on
Procreate.
yeah. It only costs like €10, which is crazy. Once off payment. So it's I use an iPad Pro, so I have like an Apple Pencil, and it's very intuitive. It feels like you draw directly onto it. I
Yeah.
used to have a separate tablet and then the screen in front of me, but it feels more intuitive to draw directly onto the screen. So I do kind of a picture collage. So I might get lots of the different animals,
Yeah.
cut them out maybe from like a photo reference, stick
Right.
them into the program, jumble them around until I get, the
Right.
right ratios, that sort of thing. It's actually quite good for doing custom work with people because they might want all the elements in a certain way, and then they'll give me feedback. They'll give me feedback, so I'll say, okay, so we're happy now with the design, and then I will redraw it. So I'll redraw the entire thing with a I'll use the reference image like up in the corner, and then I'll try to
Right.
draw
Oh, nice.
everything by hand to apply the same sort of finish to make it all
Yeah,
look cartoony,
yeah,
painted
yeah.
cartoony. I do have some speed videos. You could see the process of one, show exactly how it goes from start to finish. If you go
Yeah.
back to you could go back out of that album. I don't have it in the album, but
Right.
maybe my Instagram possibly, if you're able to switch over to that.
Yes, I think that's the one. This guy, he plays with me. His name is Bip. He's a comedian as well, and he's
Ah,
vegan.
all right, cool.
He's vegan. He does stand up here in Galway.
Oh, nice. That's great. Well, I did
So
say we need more. We need more comedians out there. Talking about a difficult topic. I mean,
okay,
if you're into black comedy, there's so much material to work with. It's kind of an unexplored territory.
yes,
Vegan comedy. So yeah, I'll check out that guy. I'll get his details off you after this chat.
okay, cool.
So yeah, I'm just
And
Goti caricatures again on Instagram if you want to find me. Ah,
yeah, there we
yes.
go.
Let's come on.
Hopefully,
So there should be say a speed video. Where am I?
okay.
Try
What
again.
happened?
You have to type in. If you type in Goti, I'm sure it will come up.
Very good.
Goti. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So scroll down a little bit there, Wagner. Okay. Well, that one there, you could do a video of the girls DJing, and that will show you my process. The two
Okay,
girls in the
let me
purple.
see.
Yeah, there's one video and one still image. Yeah, that's
Okay,
the still image there. It was like a birthday present.
very
They're
nice.
cousins.
Ah,
They're
this
cousins.
video. Oh,
That's very small.
oh yeah, so that's
I think there's a full screen button in the top right. No.
maybe
Instagram isn't great for full screen.
maybe
Don't worry.
the image was.
But anyway,
Uh,
that's the process. I do
oh
out
yeah, no,
the ink, color it
yeah,
in, add the blending. Yeah, so it's something that I like to do. It's an extra gift I give to my people that buy my work that will get the speed
yeah,
video
yeah.
also.
That's cool. And you work with layers, right? You use layers
Yeah,
to create the shadow, the lights, etc.
yeah, exactly. That's it. It gives you more control, and you can edit the image easier. If you want to see a speed video of that cat, the cat sitting. Oh, that is also a speed video. That's
This
traditional
guy.
drawn. Yeah, yeah, the cat. Yeah.
Let me check the cat. And
Okay.
tell me, which do you have any specific style you like the best to draw? Like, what's your preference of drawing, or you don't have that? Like any style, any specific topic you like to draw styles like this instead of that, or
Yeah.
preference?
Well, I do like mixing in thoughtful ideas into my work. So I'll be gearing more towards incorporating animal rights themes into my work going forward because I'm planning on doing my own work. I've been doing so much commission work
Right,
for decades,
right.
so I want to try and focus on a bit more of my own. Um, Style,
That's
I do
cool.
like working in charcoal and pencil, as I think everybody does. It's nice and
Yeah,
simple. This is an example here. I do particularly like digital work because you can make really complicated pieces with so much detail, almost unlimited. For that reason, I
totally.
like it, and it's very forgiving. Editing, you can make a mistake and correct it easily.
Yeah.
But to be honest, my favorite thing and the main part of my business is attending parties. So I go and I draw people live caricatures. So like I try and draw people's faces in 5 minutes. They hire me to mostly attend weddings, and I'll draw as many people as I can in that time. So I get to be there for their expressions of love to each other, great entertainment, good
Yeah,
music, good atmosphere. It's a privileged job. The only issue with it is getting enough work. You know.
I know. It's to become like everyday type of job, or at least every weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I think the more you keep yourself in this market, showing your work, uh, more chances of people see your work, and you
Yeah.
start to stand out in the market
Mm.
because you do amazing jobs.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. You see those colorful looking cityscapes. So I might.
Yeah,
I'm going to try that again. I only ever did two paintings like that. That's the Berlin Christmas market. I used oil paints and palette knives to thickly apply the paint, so it had a good sort of 3D element. These things like
yeah.
that sculpting. You're almost sculpting it. So
Okay. All
I'm going to do
right.
a few. Yeah, I'm going to do a few more scenes like that, maybe of Dublin, and include nocturnal animals, possibly foxes, badgers, hares, animals you'd expect to see around Ireland, but in a city
Yeah.
situation. Yeah.
It's like it's shining. It's not shining. It's an static image, but looks like it's shining. The lights.
Well, it's very Christmassy. Lots of lights at Christmas time.
Yeah. Very nice. Very good. It's
Thank you,
a
man.
light. Seems like it's dynamic, like a cartoon. It's happening
Mm,
now.
yeah,
Very good
yeah,
job.
yeah. Thanks. So the image of the girl and her dog there is that fundraiser for rescued animals, the Working Animal Guardians. This young lady attended a vegan cake sale. So they fundraised, I think maybe over 1,000, and I just put whatever people paid for their drawings into the fundraise pot as well. So that's the sort of thing I do live, draw
Yeah.
people with their companion animals, maybe from a photograph if they can't stay still.
Yeah. Oh, people love that, especially in events. Like when last year there was a cartoon event here in Galway, uh, and there was a guy, he was drawing people's characters live, and there's a big queue all the time. I couldn't
Hmm.
go because he was drawing everyone
Yeah.
and non-stop, you know. So people always
No, that,
like to have that in parts. I think it's a good thing to have, it's a good entertainment.
yeah. Did he draw you, Wagner?
He did my friend the uh bip. Let me check. I will show you.
Hmm. Well, I did say that I was going to draw you, so I might do that now. I'll try and keep it very quick. And if you can just keep talking to me, or you can
Oh yeah, yeah, cool. That would be
scroll through
cool.
my work or whatever. But I've got my Crayola marker. It's like a childish a childish type of marker, but it's got this conical tip, which is
Yeah,
really good for a small point or thick on the sides. So that's my weapon of choice.
that's good to know. I always wanted to know the best type of pain, you know.
Hmm. And there
And
you are. Look at that vegan man. Huh?
let me.
So I'm going to use
Oh,
that as a
okay,
reference.
okay, okay.
I'm, I'm going to use that as a
That's
reference
that's
image.
that was when I had my shape, but now I'm I got some extra pounds. I'm not like that anymore.
Well, just keep the camera focused on your face, and
Oh
don't
yeah,
don't
here I
go
am.
below. Now,
Here I
listen,
am.
Wagner. Actually, I've been given the warning that I'm going to have to get moving. I have to finish the conversation
Oh yeah,
here.
no, no
I
worries, man.
will. I
No
will
worries.
draw you, and maybe if this gets posted, you'll have a caricature to go with it, to go with this video interview. And I really
Cool.
appreciate you having me on. again.
No problem, man. Thanks so much for your time. I'm very, very happy to have you here. And let's keep in touch. And whenever I go to Dublin, let's go for a drink, for a coffee. And if you come to Galway, come here. Let me know.
Lovely. Thanks very much.
Okay. Thanks so much, man. Take care.
Cheers, pal. Bye.
Bye. Cheers.